Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about I've been watching or rewatching normally once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. So, as the title suggests, this episode is going to be wrapping up my thoughts on Love Island Season 8. I'm recording this Wednesday night. It should be out Thursday, hopefully Thursday morning. I think I can edit this right after I record so I can get it out. Honestly, maybe even late Wednesday, but it'll be past midnight Eastern by the time I finish editing anyway, because I'm recording at like 8 p.m. Pacific time. So, anyways, but this should be out Thursday, and then I am going to have a Big Brother 28 week one recap out sometime this weekend, like Saturday, maybe Sunday at the latest. I not this week because transparently with wrapping up my Love Island coverage, I'm a little like behind in watching the edited episodes for Big Brother. I've been glued to feeds, which is part of the reason this episode is late because I meant to record it yesterday. Honestly, I meant to record it Monday. And then I was like, I'll record Tuesday. And then Tuesday rolled around and I was like, oh, I'll record Wednesday. So here I am finally recording Wednesday. But because of that, I'm a little behind in the actual episodes. I've watched the premiere and then I haven't watched the HOH episode or tonight's episode. So I need to watch that tomorrow. So because I have to watch the episodes and take notes on that, and then also gather my notes chronologically from the week, I do not think I'm going to be able to record tomorrow. So my goal is to record like Friday, maybe Saturday, get the episode out Saturday, Sunday at the latest. So that's my plan for this week. But I hope going forward, since this week I was also covering Love Island and I had notes to take for that. Because of that, I feel like I have been a little bit more disorganized this week. But my plan is to record the episodes about the week right after somebody goes home in the live eviction, so I can kind of so I can record while feeds are down for the HOH comp, and then by the time I'm done, like that's my goal is to get episodes out like Fridays after the. But this week it'll be a little bit delayed. But starting next week, that's my goal is to record like on Thursday night after the live eviction, so I can get the episodes out Friday about the Big Brother weeks. And I am just doing it week by week for my own, like, even like week one is a little bit longer. Like, it's already been over a week in the Big Brother house. They moved in on Tuesday. So like some people, it's not week one yet. But for me, I'm like, a full week of Big Brother in my brain is somebody goes home, it is somebody's HOH nominees, people are nominated, an HOH veto is played, somebody gets eliminated. Like that is what I'm covering week by week, if that makes sense. But I am watching feeds, so I am going to speak about more than just what happens in the episodes. And yeah, anyways, let me just jump straight into Love Island for the finale. The first thing that I want to talk about for this week is the Sarah V singing competition. Now, in this episode before the Sarah V singing competition, Melanie and Kenzie have had a conversation that I really appreciated and I really liked. And it's one of those, it's an example. It's a conversation that really, to me, exemplifies why I like Melody so much, because not Melody. Oh my God. The Big Brother 28 is already rotting my brain. It's why I like Melanie so much, because she is like, it was such a like honest conversation. And unlike Sincere, Melanie, like a good communicator, is honest and upfront, but isn't like she says what she means. She doesn't just say what she thinks Kenzie wants to hear, even if it's hurtful to Kenzie. And then she also like doesn't get upset if Kenzie's upset by what she said, but she's not going to change what she's saying just to appease Kenzie. Like that, like Kenzie even cries and gets upset because she feels like she and Melanie are closer than Melanie feels they are, or something along those lines, and she gets upset, and then they squash it in a really beautiful way, and I just like really love Melanie, and I think that makes me hate Sincere even more, because I'm like, Melanie doesn't deserve him. Like, Melanie doesn't deserve this kind of he doesn't deserve Melanie. I mean, Melanie doesn't deserve to be treated the way she's treated, to be clear. Not like Sincere's too good for Melanie. Quite the opposite. But anyways, the Seraphie karaoke competition was probably my favorite challenge competition thing that they ever, like, they did this entire season. The interesting thing about Love Island is that while it is more of a game explicitly than like The Bachelor is, in that you win money at the end, and you don't with The Bachelor, like, you get a ring if you win The Bachelor, then you have to stay together for 2 years to keep the ring. Anyways, so you do get something out of The Bachelor, whatever. But for as much as The Bachelor is less explicitly a competition, the challenges and like the dates, in my opinion, are more for like, the format is better for it to feel like there's something you're getting out of it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes some sense, but it's like you can go for a group date, Rose, or even when they have a competition, it's like two groups of women like are like competing against something. A lot of the times the winning team gets more time on the date. If you perform well in a competition, like a singing competition or something, you get more time, or you win an MVP thing, or like, I don't know. There's something about Love Island that I'm like, one of the main things that I would do to fix it, and not that it really needs like improvement, but for me, but to fix it, I mean, what I would enjoy watching more, I would make the challenges mean something more, because the fact that, like, the glimpse we got into like the immunity that Kenzie and Dylan won in this competition was so compelling to me that I'm like, why don't they do this more often? Why don't the challenges mean something more often? Like, they compete, and not only is it a fun competition, it's like about teamwork. Like, I really like and I understand there's like Love Island games or something, but it's like, I really like them competing in duos against the other duos a lot more than like, they're all like the girls versus the guys, and it's like who can make out, like who can. I like this better. I feel like they have to work together as a team. The performances, Kenzie and Dylan obviously had the standout performances. She did the splits. He like jumped over her. It was genuinely so well done. Um, and they did win. And basically, after it was like the fellow Islanders voted for each other, they rated each other based off the performances. And Denzi. Dylan and Kenzie had the highest, like they got the most points, so they won. And then Ariana Madix is like, America's also been voting. And it was like 4 couples were in the top and 3 couples were in the bottom. I actually don't know how many couples were in the top, but 4 couples were in the bottom, or 3 couples were in the bottom. And the bottom 3 couples, the last couple they revealed was Casey and Titi, and they were shocked. Casey and Titi were shocked that they were in the that they weren't in the bottom. They really thought it was going to be them. Dylan and Kenzie are in the bottom, then Zach and Kata, and Parmita and Corbin. But because Kenzie and Dylan have won this competition, which their Islanders had no idea was winning them immunity, they get immunity and they're not in the bottom anymore. So the Islanders have to vote in their couples between Corbin and Parmita and Zach and Kata. And at this moment, I figured that Corbin and Parmita were going to go home, but I was a little bit, I did want Zach to go home. Not Kata. I figured she wasn't, but I did like the fact that he was at the bottom. I feel bad that that impacted Kata, but I'm glad that he was at the bottom. Anyways, they go home. That's fine. Corbin and Parmita, I wasn't particularly invested in them. I don't have positive feelings towards Corbin. He won me over a little bit. I think the last episode I recapped was the one when a bunch of couples went home. And Corbin did win me over slightly with voting for Melanie and Sincere to go, and like being critical of Sincere. That did win him some points for me personally. but in the long run, that doesn't cancel out everything bad that he's done. So I'm glad that he left. Like, genuinely, at this point in the cast, I didn't really care about most of them. And by them, I mean the men. I didn't care about most of the men. Anyways, after the votes, Zach and Kata are very upset about being in the bottom. Kata more so than Zach. She's like, and I love this meta conversation about like America and how we're perceiving them and everything. Like, I find that so fascinating, and like it makes me think of this is only the second season I've watched, but I always think about the fact that in season 7, when America could choose who to pair the bombshells up, they voted to pair, I don't even remember which bombshell it was, up with Jeremiah. And the reaction that Huda had to that, and how indicative that was of like the way she was viewing their relationship and her behavior and everything. It was like that part of the show I really, really like, and I find really fascinating. And I think it's not everybody's cup of tea. I think the more I've watched Love Island, the more I've really like grown to like that aspect of it, and the watching it in real time and like being part of the discourse part is probably my favorite part of watching Love Island. And I think honestly, it's a very natural thing for me coming from feeds. Like, I was listening to another podcast recap the finale, and they were talking about how they like it's a lot of content, and they realized in watching all the episodes of Love Island that they really miss like an edited, concise product. And I have realized in hearing them say that part of the thing I like about Love Island is that there's so much to consume, and it's so in real time, we're part of the conversation in a way. And I think it's just because one of the first reality shows that I really got into was Big Brother, and like the live feeds. It's so interesting because they're like, there's so much content. I'm watching people 24/7 on a live feed camera on Big Brother. So to me, it's like the edited, concise show isn't super necessary. I like the amount of content. Sometimes it's overwhelming, and sometimes the episodes are kind of filler and unnecessary. So in that regard, it's kind of like I get it, but I just think it's really funny because I think it really just depends what kind of, like everybody has their own cup of tea, I guess. But Zach and Kata reacting to it, Zach had maybe a moment of like realization where he was like, maybe they don't like me. They think that you're too like, and I'm like, okay, but he always misses the point. He's like, maybe they don't like, we come from different places. Maybe America doesn't like that. It's like, nobody cares that you're British and she's from New Hampshire. Like, nobody cares about that. What are you talking about? It was, anyways, but then this becomes, or it triggers, in my opinion, a longer plot of them being exclusive versus boyfriend and girlfriend, and like that expanding. He wants to date her exclusively, but like not put the label on it. And then Bryce, and he has a conversation with Bryce where he says this, and he's like, well, why? And Bryce is like, would you consider just making her your girlfriend? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And then Bryce is like, do you think maybe that's what America's seeing? Like, that disconnect is what America's seeing. And it's just it's so funny. It's so funny that he doesn't realize it, because it's like, I think, here's the thing. It's not like America is necessarily judging him because he doesn't want to like be exclusively dating somebody he met on TV. Like, I don't think that if he was just like, hey, I really like you and I want to see where this goes in the outside world, that people would be as harsh with it. It's like the defensiveness he has over like boyfriend and girlfriend being different than exclusive, and like the weird semantics of like, he's like, we're dating exclusively, but I don't want to make you my girlfriend. Like, that's so weird and confusing. And like it's that aspect. It's not like, hey, we're going to keep dating in the outside world and we'll see where it goes. It's the fact that it's like you want to move up from just being closed off in the show to being exclusively dating without like the commitment of calling her your girlfriend. and it just it's weird. That's the part that like America, I feel like, saw a red flag, and it was like not just that. Obviously, there were a lot of factors compounding into people's dislike of Zach, but it's just so funny to me that in the episode right after America votes him lower, he just like doesn't. He continues to be like bad and annoying, and exactly like it just reinforces why America maybe wouldn't want to vote for him. Anyway, there's also a very funny moment where Kenzie is talking to the girls like after the vote, and she's like, so if Dylan and I weren't safe, like would I have gone home? And there's like a moment of silence, and then Melanie's like, let's not think about that, or something like that. It was so funny, Melanie's response. And I really like, it's like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? Because it's also like, would it then have been 3 people? Like, would it have been 3 couples in the final 3? Because then the votes would have been split a lot more evenly. Like, would somebody still have been saved? I don't know how they would have then reduced it. Like, I feel like they wanted a bottom 2 from the beginning. So it's like, were Kenzie and Dylan even in the bottom 2? I don't know. I feel like it's so many what if situations that it's like, okay, who knows? If it wasn't them, what if like it's just too unnecessary to say. It's like at this point, most of the votes are going to be based off of what America wants. So it's like there's just no point in being like, would I have gone home? You didn't go home, you know? But it was a very funny reaction that people had to that question. Sincere is trying to win Melanie over and being love bomby again. And he says that he wants her to be his future girlfriend, his future wife, the future mother of his children. It's like, enough, Sincere. Like, the thing is, it's like hollow. It doesn't mean anything. It's like he says things and it's like, okay, I don't believe you. I don't know how anybody, like Melanie specifically, could be in a relationship with Sincere and like believe anything he says. Like, I just, and I have so many thoughts on Sincere, and I'll get to them because a lot of it comes up with like his reaction to the family day, and like Sincere is just somebody who I genuinely think needs to not date people and needs to like go to therapy and figure out why he is the way he is, and reflect on his communication skills. Like, you know what I mean? And I really don't, I'm really not trying to be like an asshole or like diagnose him, or like, I don't know what's going on with him, but I think it's very clear when you see a pattern of somebody who just says what they think they're supposed to say and doesn't like put meaning behind the words. Like, I feel like Sincere just like hears the information and then says what he thinks he's supposed to say without like genuinely processing the information, and then like truly thinking through how he would react, like how he feels about something, and then saying that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's just so much with Sincere that I'm like, anyways. Melanie and Sincere then go to the hideaway, and I don't understand why. Like, I'm just supposed to root for them again. Like, they're just a normal, fine couple. It's like, I want her away from him. Like, the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, this is a horror movie for me. I'm not having fun. I don't want them to spend time together. I want him out of the villa. I want her alone. I want her to be free. But they do go to the hideaway. Congrats to them. And then the girls get pulled away in the middle of the night to go to a water park, which I really like, including Melanie. And Sincere just wakes up and he's like, oh, Melanie's gone. And he goes back to sleep. Like, the funny thing is the other boys wake up and they can see that none of the girls are there. Sincere wakes up in the hideaway and Melanie's gone, and he's not even like, he's very briefly like, oh, Melanie's not here. And then he keeps going about his life. I'm like, whatever. I really hate Sincere, and I'm trying to not be a hateful person because I don't know him personally, and like, I'm never gonna think about him. That's not true. I will probably think about him in passing every once in a while, but I'm not holding on to like a passion, like a beef with Sincere. Okay, but I really do not like him, and it's hard to not infuse those feelings I have towards him into the way that I'm talking about the show, because that's the whole point of this. In continuation of the Zach and Kata girlfriend boyfriend exclusive debacle, she tells Trinity, and Trinity says, so like it's a situationship. Kata gets very upset by this, and she gets even, and it comes up again when they're at the water park, and it was the thing is, Zach and Kata are like, oh, situationship is when it's like messy and you're like uncommitted and like you're seeing other people, and it's like, I've always viewed a situationship, and obviously it's slang and it's like people define things differently. I mean, to me, dating somebody exclusively, that just means that you're boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, who cares about the, like, the, it's like, whatever. It's like, if I'm dating you and I'm only dating you, then what difference is that between you being my boyfriend or my girlfriend? Like, what is the difference? There is none to me. So it's like, everybody has their own definitions of things. But the way I viewed it, I've always viewed a situationship is that you are like acting as if you were in a couple with somebody. Like, you're very like, this to me is how I would view a situationship. Like, you're doing all the relationship things, but there's not a commitment behind it. And if they want to argue it's not a situationship because situationships are messy and we're not seeing other people and there is a commitment behind it, then okay, then you're just in a relationship. Like, whatever. It's like boyfriend, girlfriend, exclusive, whatever. Just, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. To me, it's like, if the label doesn't mean anything different, like, what is the difference to Zach? What is the difference between I'm dating her and I'm not dating anybody else to she is my girlfriend? Like, what is the difference? Is it that, like, in a few years, if you guys don't last and then you see somebody else, you don't want to consider her like an official girlfriend? Why? Who cares? Who cares? It's just so unserious to me. It's so unnecessary, because it's like, you don't need to step up the level in the relationship, but then don't act like people are like, okay, so you're dating or you're not, like, it, whatever. It just, it became this thing where, and Trinity and Kata do eventually squash it, and it's fine, and it didn't need to be like a big argument. But I am on Trinity's side in this, and I do. At the end of the day, Zach is the villain. Okay. At the end of the day, Zach is the villain because she wants to be your girlfriend and you're like, whatever. And even like, the thing is, if you genuinely, the thing that gets me about a lot of these men is that a lot of the times there's a way to communicate this thing that they're feeling about wanting to explore or not being sure, finding somebody that you're more connected to, in a way that is just so like, I just watch these shows and I'm like, you could have like handled that so much better and the outcome could still be the same, because you could have the conversation where you're like, hey, I really like you. I don't want to date anybody else. But at the end of the day, like, this is a show when we are in an environment. And also, I live in Australia and you live in the United States. And like, while I do want to commit to you, I think that we should like try to see how we are in the real world when we're not like together 24/7 and we don't have like outside responsibilities and commitments, and like our families are in different places. Like, I feel like Zach could have articulated like gotten out of this and still had the outcome of like, I don't want to be your boyfriend right now, in a way that wasn't so messy. Like, I feel like there's a very easy way to be like, hey, I don't want to date anybody else, and I've never liked anybody as much as I like you, and I want to hopefully be your boyfriend and have you be my girlfriend. But the reality of the situation is, we met in this environment where we're together all the time, and we don't have like the outside world coming into it. And I just feel like we should date a little bit in the outside world to see if we can make long distance work. If I can move to you, if you can move to me, like, see if we really work as a relationship. And then we can, on our own time in private, when it's real, be boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, he could have very well, like, that's the thing that gets me, is like, you can articulate this in a way that isn't so shitty. Like, it's not about the thing itself. It's not about Casey exploring or Casey feeling a bigger connection with Titi or all of these things that they like, the men very often like zoom in on as like, you're mad that I did X, Y, and Z. It's like, they're mad about the way you handled it. Okay. At the end of the episode where they go to the hideaway and then there's the water park and everything, Casey and TT become boyfriend and girlfriend. He's like, I want her to be my girlfriend. And he puts on a very cute scavenger hunt. He plans it all day. He plans it all day with like photos at the photo booth, and like the guys guide her to different steps along the scavenger hunt. It wasn't much of a scavenger hunt because it was kind of like the guys, like she would find a photo and then he'd be like, oh, there's a pan here. Maybe check the kitchen. Like there was no scavenging, you know, like she just figured like they would just guide her to the next step of the series of events. But it was just really, really, it was sweet. It was wholesome. I do think Casey and TT like have a good connection. Again, I really think he and Anaya at the end of the day weren't compatible and he liked TT more. And it wasn't ever about that. It was never about that. And see how Anaya kind of like after movie night, she got out her feelings and then she squashed the beef. And there was never any like beef or anger, resentment, because it's not about the act itself. It's not about the exploring. Like so many of these men really shoot themselves in the foot by not just communicating well, because Casey could have very easily like whatever. I've gone on and on about this in past episodes, but it's just like it's really proved to me that it's not about like the thing itself. It's about the disrespectful way that you're doing it. Because Casey and TT are more compatible. They do seem like they're better matched. He likes her more than he liked Anaya. I'm glad that they found each other. And I don't like it's really about the way things happened. Anyways. Congrats to Casey and TT. And then in the next episode, I believe, Family Day happened. And this was probably my favorite episode of the entire season, was Family Day. Neck and neck with the Casa episodes, especially like the end of Casa where Brinity was reunited, just because that was when I was into the season and I really liked a lot of the women, but when Casa happened, that's really when I locked in and I was like, I finally like a couple. So I'm actually invested in the show in that greater sense. And for me, that was a big turning point. So those episodes were really good for that reason. But like in terms of like I loved the Family Day episode so much. There's a build up to Melanie and Sincere's. Like they're the last people to have their family come in. And I think this was really, really smart and like very well done. But like Brinity, their family is the first to come in and it's beautiful and lovely. And like the way they just love them as a couple warmed my heart. I'm like genuinely such a fan of Bryce and Trinity. Like I really believe in them. I really believe in them. Like the thing is, I've never rooted for a Love Island couple. Again, last season, season 7 was my first season watching in real time. And there were no good couples that season, sorry. So I really love Bryce and Trinity, and I loved seeing their family members like talk about each other and how much Trinity's mom being like, she's grown so much since I dropped her off. You're her man, she's your lady. Bryce's grandmother was a hoot. Like she was so funny when Kenzie's like, we love your grandson. And she's like, even with a turtle tongue, and Bryce doesn't even know what she's talking about. I love that aspect of the show. Like the family members get to come in this way. I really, really love that. And it's like very unique to Love Island, because even on Big Brother, which is recorded and airs in real time, they don't have contact with the outside world to this extent, like at all. They have family videos and like families write letters, but it's extremely like edited. You don't like spend time with your family member like this. And I understand because that's like a game show more structured. They can't have people giving any hints about like the show and who's betraying you and maybe who you can't trust. Like literally in Big Brother, back in the day, the letters were a lot more lax, and then people started trying to cheat the letters, like the letters from home when you won HOH. People would put codes in them, so then they had to like change it, and it's like very strict. And your family members write them all like before the season, so there's no indication So you can't like hint to something happening, like, oh, if there's this code word, that means we don't trust the people you're aligned with or something like that. Like you can't do that. So it is very unique in the sense, because even when like Survivor people come in, or like they have, you know, a connection with the outside world, there are very few shows that it's like it's airing in real time, and they get this much time. So I really like that about Love Island, and the Family Day specifically, is like they got to see so much interaction and like play a role. And it's like even on the Bachelor, it's like you're not watching what the lead is doing with the other women, or what the other women are doing to your, or if you're the lead's family, what the women are doing to your, what, like you can't witness what's happening in real time to warn your family members the way they can on Love Island. And I really like that. Or again, even make jokes and like root, like genuinely like root for them beyond just that one interaction you see. You get to actually watch their love story unfold in a way that is really unique, and I think makes the advice of family members that much more powerful. I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, you're just saying that to say that, like that means nothing. But anyways, not Bryce and Trinity. I just like Zach and Kata, their Family Day was like very surface level, and nobody said anything that was like that hard on Zach or critical of him at all. It was just kind of like, we didn't like this one thing you did, but for the most part, it was like she laughs all the time with you, and it was like glowing reviews. And I'm like, okay, but you could wax Zach a little bit. Like you could have, for me at least, but no, whatever. It was really funny to see Charlie back on, like back in the villa. Anaya and Carl's family was very beautiful. I really, really appreciated Anaya's mom being like, I don't think you're fully honest with Melanie as a friend, because I think you want her to stay around, and I don't think that's fair. And I don't think you're being like the best friend to Melanie. And I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that, because I was very frustrated with the way that Anaya was very defensive of Sincere and Team Sincere, because I'm like, there's a way even to be like, I really care about him, and I think you guys are so much more than like these bad moments, without being like, I'm Team Sincere. Like if I was Melanie on the receiving end of that, like I would be like, nothing he like. And I understand she's not saying that, but I don't know. It did bother me, because I do agree. I'm like, if you guys weren't in the context of Love Island, and him and her staying with him didn't mean, or like him leaving, her leaving him didn't mean that she would also leave the show, would your advice be different? Like it feels like it's colored by the fact that to remain in a couple means to remain in the island, and you guys all want to make it to the end together. Like I agree. I really agreed with Anaya's mom, because I also felt that way of like, you're just saying this because you want her to stick around, and that's not fair. I said in my last podcast episode that I want Melanie gone, not because I want Melanie gone, but because we can't at this point vote out Sincere by himself and like get him out. Like there's nothing we can do about that. So I just want Melanie free of Sincere. And that didn't happen. Of course, she made it to the end. And I'm glad from a television standpoint, at least, that she stayed for Family Day. Because I think her conversation, like that was extremely powerful. Dylan and Kenzie, very fine exchange. For the most part, the Family Days are like fine. And then it reaches the iconic moment, which is Melanie and Sincere's Family Day. I was waiting with bated breath for this moment. And Melanie, the entire day, was saying that her mom just wants to see her happy. She's super understanding. When they all come in together, because basically the family members, they all come in as a group. Like Melanie's family, Sincere's family, they come together, they all interact with Melanie and Sincere all together, and then they split up and they go their separate ways, and Melanie's family gets to talk to her individually. So when they come in, Melanie's sister comes in hot. She's like, we have so much to talk about. Beloved. She calls Sincere beloved. Like she's been watching. She knows, and she has notes. She's very critical of Sincere. She doesn't let him off the hook. And then when they speak individually, she's like, I'm gonna be, Melanie's like, I've never seen you go that hard for me. And she's like, he's not treating you right. He's not treating you right. Melanie, listen to me. He's not, like, you can't do this. You can't be part of this. And she gets really emotional. And And then she tries, and then she's talking to her mom, and she's like, but mom, like, come on, you're the most understanding, supportive person. And her mom's like, yes, I understand somebody can make a mistake, but how many mistakes? How many chances? Why are you going to give somebody? And she says this all in Spanish, and it's like beautiful. And I was like tearing up watching it. But she's like, why are you going to give somebody a second, third, fourth chance when there's a bunch of people waiting for their first? And I was like, that's so powerful. Like, that's so real. And I really, really appreciated this. And I really, really liked like the dose of reality of them being like, Melanie, you don't deserve this, because at the end of the day, she doesn't deserve this. Like, what we saw Melanie go through is genuinely so devastating. Like, it's so devastating. And Sincere's family, which we've since found out, or at least I've since found out, maybe not everybody who watches the show knows this, but that was Sincere's stepdad, not his like biological father, who his stepdad was with his mom from when he was young, I think is the dynamic, but his dad was also part of his life from what I understand. I don't know. His dad posted a video and was like, that was his stepdad. And basically was like, I wouldn't have gone that hard at him, and defended Sincere. Sincere's sister also posted like really gross things about Anaya, comparing her to Shrek or something. Like, I don't know, the family, the way his dad posted on social media, I'm like, okay, I can tell why Sincere is the way he is. Because Sincere's stepdad comes out very mad, and he's like, I flew all the way here to like tell him off, and like, this isn't okay, and I'm sorry to you, Melanie. And like, very much is Team Melanie from the beginning, in a way that I was like, wow, thank God. But to know that not everybody in his life is going to hold him accountable in that way, like, is frustrating. But I don't know. The thing that gets me about Sincere, and this is why I was saying earlier, I just don't think he should be dating anybody. And I think he just genuinely needs to like self-reflect and take time to himself, and just like genuinely, I can't, because after their families leave, Melanie and Sincere have a conversation where she's like, it's gonna take a lot of work. Like, and he's like, yeah, no, I know. I'm ready to do the work. And Melanie's like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's gonna be a lot of work. And he's like, no, I hear you. I want to do what's right. But like, there's no, even his gut reaction of like, yeah, no, I know. I'm not worried about that. I can do that. To me, really indicates there's no understanding of the capacity that he's in. And for me, it's like the one step further that I would have wanted if I could have written this and it was like whatever, it is Sincere's family being like, this isn't okay, you can't treat her that way. What I would have wanted, what I would have said if Sincere was my family member is, this is not how you treat somebody. And like, as much as I am rooting for your happiness, and if you want to be together, I want you to be happy, I don't think that you should be in a relationship right now, Sincere. Like, that's what I would have said if I was like, that's what more I would have wanted. They're like so close to holding him accountable, but then there's not the like, and because of the harm you've caused, I think you need some time alone to figure out why you're doing this before you're back in that spot, maybe causing the same harm. You know what I mean? Like, the thing that gets, and I don't think Sincere really grasps that work, because it's not, he's like, yeah, no, I'll do what I can to mend it. But it's like, it's not just like making amends and making people trust you and rebuilding that trust. It's genuine self-work that you need to do to figure out why your first reaction is to just say what you think you need to say, instead of like having a human interaction where like somebody tells you how they feel and you process that, and then you respond acknowledging their feelings, but also sharing your own and having a dialogue. Like, Sincere feels like, for all the jokes that people had about Corbin being AI, Sincere really feels kind of like an automatic, like he feels like a robot, where it's like you're saying something and he's just replying with what like the standard reply is, but there's no like real interaction with what you're saying and real engaging and like having a conversation. It's just like generating the correct response on paper. That's what Sincere feels like to me. Like, it's really, really, and I just don't have faith that he's genuinely going to do the work. And if I was Sincere's family member, I really would have taken it a step further from like, this isn't okay, you don't treat people this way. I wouldn't have said, but I wish you the best, and I hope you can work it out. I would have said, I don't think you should be in this relationship. I don't think you should be in this relationship, not because of Melanie, but just because you are not in the place to be in this relationship, and you need to figure out how to properly show up as a significant other in any capacity before you can be in a relationship. And the thing is, I don't know, maybe I take interpersonal relationships like very seriously because I've never been in a relationship. I'm 27. I just turned 27 less than a month ago, and I've never been I've never been in any kind of romantic relationship. And one of the main reasons is that I've done a lot of work on myself, and I just, not that I think I'm like a pathological liar, like Sincere, because I don't think I mean, I'm not, and I don't think that I've caused harm to this extent, but I do think that I'm so scared, and I understand that this probably also isn't super healthy, and I need to find like an in between. But like, I if like I would, if I was sincere, which I guess I would just never get to that point. But I'm like, I would want somebody to be like, Emi, I love you. I think you're a good person and you're capable of being an honest person in a relationship. But clearly, right now, like there's something that you're not, because I feel like if I was acting this way in a relationship and I was just like, I don't know, like maybe I'm projecting too much, and like this is just, if I was behaving like Sincere, it'd be because of like a deep fear of rejection, and I was just doing what I thought I needed to do on paper because I didn't want to lose the connections. Like maybe I'm putting too much of the way that I would, like if I was acting like Sincere, what that would indicate about my state of mind. Maybe I'm just projecting that. I don't know him. But I do just think on a bare minimum, regardless of like what the cause of that is, I do think the output and the consequence is harm. He's causing harm. So I think people in his life should be like, hey, you need to step away from this so you can stop causing harm. Like for me, anyways, I just, Sincere's reaction to this really, to me, just validated that I don't feel like he's ready, and I don't think he understands the amount of work he needs to do, because he's always like, I learned a lot about myself, and like, yeah, no, of course I'll make it right. I'm not worried about that. I know it'll be a lot of work. I'm not worried about that. It's like, it'd be a bit more human and like you genuinely grasped it if you said, I really understand how much I messed up, and like that is like, I'm a little bit worried, or like I need to figure out why I'm doing this. Like it's just him saying what he needs to say. It's really, really upsetting me. It's really, really upsetting me. And I think it's especially upsetting. I mean, it'd be upsetting regardless of who was on the receiving end. But Melanie, of all people, is one of the contestants on this season who I feel like does the most like self-reflection and good communicating. Like even at the beginning of this podcast, I was talking about the conversation she had with Kenzie, where she didn't like just say what Kenzie wanted to hear and agree, like, yeah, no, we're super close, or like let Kenzie off the hook. Like Melanie still expressed how she felt towards Kenzie, even though it hurt Kenzie's feelings, but she did so in an empathetic way. She comforted Kenzie when Kenzie was upset, but she didn't like back down from how she was feeling to appease Kenzie and say what maybe she, like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that Melanie is so emotionally intelligent and able to like be compassionate in the way she communicates, but also firm and assertive and like not, I think it takes a very strong person and a good communicator to be like, to empathize with the other person and to be compassionate with them, and also like not like stand down from your decision, like not just say what you need to say to appease somebody because you're afraid of conflict. Like it's just especially upsetting that Melanie's on the receiving end of somebody like Sincere, because it's like whatever. He really, really irritated me. He really, really irritated me. He isn't grasping the amount of work he needs to put in. He's not. The final challenge was like really gross. It was like a food competition where, what was the point of this? What was the point of this? It added nothing. Sorry to bring up Big Brother again. I'm very Big Brother minded right now. Okay. But funny enough, it was giving like an old school, less sexualized because or like more sexualized than like the Big Brother competitions of yore used to be, because but it was kind of giving old school Big Brother food comp. And funny enough, like the reward, they had like a family style dinner at the end where they all ate Chinese food, but it was really gross. I'm like, what was the point of this? That's like one of my least favorite challenges on the Survivor seasons I've watched. Is like every once in a while they'll be like, here's like a big thing of meat, and you have to rip the meat with your mouth, and like whichever team has like the more weight of the meat, like you bite off of the meat and you spit it into like a bucket or something. One, such a waste of food, especially when they're starving. Uh, I understand. I'm a vegetarian trying to be vegan. Okay. I don't want to claim vegan yet because I'm like, I think that feels like stolen valor, but I haven't had animal products in like a few weeks at least. Anyways, sorry. My point is, I don't eat meat. It really irritates me when they waste food in general, but especially I'm like, an animal died for this, and you're just like, anyways. So I didn't like the competition. The family style dinner was like Chinese food, and then it ended with you broke fortune cookies to find out who was in the final four. I was not surprised by the final four just because a lot of people really wanted the core four in the finals. I didn't want Zach to be rewarded with that, but you know what? Him in the finale was kind of funny. His final date with Kata was kind of, the thing is, on paper it wasn't like that bad of a date, but when you see like the photos in comparison to the other three dates, it was really lame. The finale was a bit like, it dragged on a little bit. I liked the final dates. Zach and Kata go to like a swamp with like sandwiches. Again, I would have liked that date. It was like nice, and you're outside and it's like whatever. It wasn't like, you know, horrifying. But the others, it's like they come out and there's like a bunch of candles lit and it's like super romantic, and it's like, you know, in comparison, their date did seem kind of lame. That's what Zach and Katie do. Carlin and Naya have like a fairy tale date, which was all lovely, except the book they gave them at the end was definitely AI, and I hated that. But Melanie and Sincere have a date where they like get massage, like they massage each other, and then like at this point, I was just so tired of watching Melanie and Sincere. Like, I love Melanie, and I just don't want to see her interact with this man anymore. Like, I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. Like, I am just so sick of watching Melanie interact with Sincere that I was just annoyed at this state. And even like little subtle things where he's like, he makes her like rock, paper, scissors, like, okay, Matt and Jag, to about who's gonna massage who first. I just can't stand him. I can't stand him. I saw this really funny clip of somebody reacting to Melanie and Sincere's date, and she was talking about how like they were so close and they never ran into each other. And the person reacting was like, that was God protecting you. That was God protecting you. Okay. And then you go on this devil show and you meet this man. That cracked me up. That cracked me up. I can't lie. Bryce and Trinity's date, of course, the highlight of everything. I love them so much in a way that I can't explain. I was genuinely tearing up watching their date. Like I was tearing up. Okay. He is talking about how it's an open door policy. She can stay in LA as long as she wants. They tell each other they love each other, and it was like so genuine and beautiful. And I just genuinely am just really rooting for them. I really love them. I really love them. Like, I don't get attached to couples on reality TV, and at the end of the day, I appreciate them as individuals as well, to the point where like it doesn't work out, which I'm not wishing that upon them. But I think a hard part for me when I get parasocial about a couple is I'm like, but they can't break up. They can't break up. And what I've learned the reason I've stopped getting attached to couples is I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't really know them and how they are interpersonally, and relationships are so personal that I don't like, I understand that it probably adds a pressure of like, we need to stay together. So I don't like shipping people, and like, you know, but I do love, and their story was very beautiful. And I think the fact that like neither of them, like, he liked her from the beginning, but it was like rocky, and then finally they gave each other a chance. and they felt comfortable with each other. And then when they took time apart, they realized they didn't want anybody else, and it like was so solid. And I'm just, their story was so beautiful to me. I love their banter. I really like him individually. I like her individually, and I like them together. And I'm really rooting for their happiness. And I'm really truly rooting for them, and I believe in them. And I also understand that relationships are deeply personal, and if they don't work out, I wish whatever journey they each go on, I wish the best for them. I love Trinity. Like, I love Trinity. I think in the first episode I talked about Love Island this season, I said, maybe it was my second episode that I talked about it, because I think the first episode I talked about it very, very briefly, for like 5 minutes at the end of a recap of another show. But the first episode where I really, really talked more in depth about the season, I remember being like, I really like Brinity. I really like Trinity. She's one of my favorites. And the fact that Bryce is with her makes me like him more. But I'm really wary on most of the guys. And he won me over. I do think the fact that, like, seeing his relationship with his family, and the fact that he was like raised by women, and like I really do appreciate Bryce. I just really like him. I really like his family. I really believe in them. And their couple their date genuinely made me cry. I genuinely cried watching them say they love each other. I'm really rooting them on. Then the girls get their nails done before the final, which was cute. Then I really liked the moment where they all watched little videos. I think it was really telling of the fact that, like, Bryce and Trinity, one, I love the fact that they showed Trinity, Bryce crying in Costa, and him being emotional, and him saying it wasn't her. And like, I really, really appreciated that. I'm pretty sure Melanie had some moments where she got mad at Sincere in hers. Like, it was very interesting, the contrast of the clips. But like, Bryce getting really emotional was so heartwarming. And I just love them. What can I say? I just love them. I liked the family videos as well. I thought it was so funny that Trinity's sister was like Brinity in 5. I'm like, that's so funny how that's become like vernacular now because of the Knicks in 5. I'm like, I've never heard blank in 5, because who cares about basketball that much? No, I'm kidding. But it was just so funny how like that's become terminology now, where we were like Brinity in 5, and it's like, they're like, that's just so funny how language evolves, because they're like Brinity in 5. I'm like, yes and no, like not technically, like yes. But anyways, then in the final 4, no surprise, Zach and Bryce, or Zach and Kata are in 4th place. Melanie and Sincere are in 3rd. Carlin and I are in 2nd, and 1st place goes to Brinity. And I was so happy. I was so happy. That's who I voted for. I was happy that they won. I've been rooting them on since Casa. First time I've been attached to a Love Island couple, and I genuinely really, really believe in them, and I'm rooting for them, and wish the best for them. I know she's going to kill it in LA. The fact that Bryce has been in LA for like a while, and like has so many roots here, and like knows random people, like he's just randomly friends with multiple cast members from Glee. That's so fun. Like, Bryce already has like a bit of an established, community out here, which I think will be really good and helpful for her her transitioning to LA. Because I think when you come off of a show and you're like super popular, it's like you move to a city and it's like you don't know anybody. At least Bryce has like a community already, and like he knows LA, and he knows people in LA, which I think will set them up well for like, not that they couldn't have been fine regardless, but I think that's really great that Zach already like knows people, or that Bryce already knows people and is like set up well here. Anyways, I was really happy. I was really, really happy they won. When Trinity gets all emotional and talks about how like this doesn't really happen for people from like her area, and she never met, like, she's just really processing it. Like, when she wins, it's like shit. Like, it becomes really real when it's like over and like you won, and like it's crazy. It really is crazy, and I'm so happy for her. And that's all I have to say about Love Island season 8. What a great season. Significantly better than season 7, and I hope it just keeps getting better. I hope it keeps getting better. I will keep watching Love Island. Next podcast episode will begin my Big Brother 28 coverage. And occasionally, every once in a while, I will maybe have a second episode out about another show I'm watching, but I'm really glued into feeds, and Big Brother is going to be my life for the next few months. So Big Brother is my priority for the podcast. But thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Follow me wherever you listen to podcasts, like and subscribe, comment down below. And if you have a show that you would like me to cover, let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. You'll hear from me in a few days, but